let's go through some Eastern Conference tiers. Wolfond, I know you made some, but I'm the host, so I have them already. So don't worry, you're good.
Let's go.
Let's start
as long as I can rebut where I see fit.
No. Here's the thing. I actually did it in one of those tier maker things. I don't know if you guys see those kind of YouTube content. I know you, Cash, you're huge on YouTube at theScore now. Actually, both of you are huge on YouTube at theScore now. But like, the tier maker kind of list making things. You can slide teams around, stuff like that. So I actually did that. So in my S tier, where in this case I called it the 7-game Eastern Conference Finals please tier, is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. They're clear cut above the rest of the East for me. Is there any pushback on that front? And if there is one team that is slightly above the other, Cash, I'd love to start with you.
First of all, no other team is in that tier. Those are the two teams that should be on a collision course from when the season starts until May, I guess, when the Eastern Conference Finals will be. Obviously, things can...
I need a numb encore of these two.
What's that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there obviously things could derail it. There could be injuries, there could be whatever, other roster movement around the league. But for the most part, these two teams are so head and shoulders above the rest of the East. And it's just like, whether you look at top-end talent, and first of all, I think Milwaukee is a little ahead of Boston. I just think that top two, that big two of Giannis and Dame, is as perfect and as seamless and as balanced a top two as exists in the league. I just think they complement each other so well. I think obviously Dame's shot creation and shooting and range and all of the things that he does just unlocks that offense in so many ways. And Wolfond and I have talked about this too. Like over the last few years, even the year they won the title, the one thing that could have or did derail the Bucks come the postseason was their lack of shot creation, that stagnant kind of in-the-mud offense. You know what unlocks that? One of literally the greatest offensive players of all time. And when you combine the things Dame does with Giannis being this like battering ram of an offensive engine, when you combine what Giannis does defensively, and obviously with Giannis and Brook Lopez as the protectors in Milwaukee to kind of protect Dame and his defensive shortcomings, I just think everything meshes so well. I think they're the team to beat. But Boston, they're almost trying to build like the Bucks killers with Drew joining the team now. They've got Drew and White. They've got arguably the best defensive backcourt in basketball. They can make sure one of those guys is always on the court and always on Dame. Tatum, obviously.
Last time Drew played Dame in a playoff series, very different context, but
2018, and Dame came out of that series, and you can find him talking about this on various podcasts and stuff. Dame came out of that series being like, yeah, Drew Holiday's the best perimeter defender in the league, and it's not close.
Right. And so also trade me to the Miami Heat.
Yeah, which he didn't get. But I think Boston is close. Like, I do think it's neck and neck. Boston's close. I think, with Drew there defensively, with what Derek White brings, obviously Tatum, even Brown, say what we say about him, he's still an elite player despite his shortcomings. Porzingis, if he's healthy, giving them kind of a different dimension to their offense with the inside-out game that they have now. I think depth is a little bit more of an issue for Boston than it is Milwaukee. Could be an issue for both of them. But I just think these two teams are so far ahead of the pack, and I would give the slight edge to Milwaukee because I think their top two is a little better.
Is there an Achilles heel with either of these two teams, Wolfond?
Yeah, perimeter defense for Milwaukee. Like, how much can Giannis and Brook cover for on their own, basically?
Okay.
One of those guys is 35, and I mean, he looks great. Like, he's looked good in the preseason. He had maybe his best season in the NBA last year, so maybe it's foolish to doubt him. But that's a lot to ask of those two guys to cover for, not only Dame at the point of attack, but like, man, Milwaukee's like not super strong on the wing.
So they still don't have a guy to guard Jimmy Butler, is what you're telling me?
Absolutely not. I mean,
okay. But perennial issue that you think they would fix at some point.
Well, but like also they had theoretically one of the best guys to guard Jimmy Butler, and it didn't matter. So I can also understand them saying, well, we threw Drew Holiday at him and it made no difference. We might as well just make our offense unstoppable. And I think ultimately, if you're trying to build out a defensive floor, you'd rather be flimsy at the point of attack than on the interior. Mm-hmm. Like, I think, especially when, like, it's one thing to be, like, a strong interior defense, and it's another to have, like, two of, like, I don't know, the four best interior defenders in basketball right now. So I do think the perimeter defense could be an issue. I think they're going to have to change how they play defense. Like, I don't think the deep drop scheme really works that well with Dame at the point of attack. So I think we might see them mix that up a little bit, like maybe have their guys playing a little bit closer to the level of the screen. I think like they've even talked about maybe trying to get more aggressive, force more turnovers, and just it might look a little bit different than it's looked in the past. But
Adrian Griffin got a little of that Nick Nurse DNA.
There you go.
You know, a question,
but he was like helping design that defense.
He was. That's right. He should get a lot of credit for that. Yeah.
A question I have. I know it's your show, Will, but I'm going to ask you a question because this is a question I floated to Wolfond a couple weeks ago when we talked about this when they acquired Dame, and obviously the defensive downgrade from Drew to Dame is. I threw it out there like, look, is this finally the year because of the lack of defensive options on the perimeter? Where the Bucks say to Giannis, okay, we're going to need you.
Giannis, you got to come outside.
No, but Wolfond's counter to that was he actually thought it's the opposite. That because you actually now need that roving help protection more than ever. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think they now will and or need him to do the kind of more one-on-one defensive thing? Hey, we need you on the best perimeter player or the best opposing player one-on-one for stretches? Or are you kind of more Team Wolfond where it's like, no, they need his help more than ever now, as opposed to one-on-one stuff.
I think they shouldn't ruin their whole base defense or change their whole base defense to accommodate something that they can make an in-season trade for. And I know that they've exhausted pretty much all their assets at this point, but honestly, I have to hand it to John Horst, their GM, that he's done a great job of pulling out these trades, even when it feels like he doesn't have that much. We just saw that obviously with Dame, right? And so I think that if they're able to get a 3-and-D guy, it doesn't even have to be a top tier. It doesn't have to be an OG Anunoby. If they had an OG Anunoby, this team's winning the championship.
Yeah,
probably
but
2-3 years in a row.
Look what PJ Tucker did for them.
That's what I'm saying.
Championship season, right? Like,
even if they got like a Torrey Craig, for example, I feel like would really just go a long way for this.
I'm pretty sure he was in the PJ Tucker trade.
Okay, well, get him back.
Yeah. You mentioned shout out John Horst, and it's true, man. Like again, another thing I mentioned on Pound the Rock a couple weeks ago, but like if you look at what he's done with what a lot of people thought were limited assets, especially after the Drew trade, but in totality,
a bunch of 30-year-olds, and somehow they added Dame.
Dude, if you look at in totality, you could look at this as going back to the Drew trade.
Yeah,
they traded basically control of every first rounder from 2023 to 2030 in order to win a championship and then get Dame Lillard. And that is a trade you make 8 times a week and 3 times on Sunday. Well, twice on Sunday, I guess. But like, it's just, that's what because banners hang forever.
Yeah.
And no team is now better positioned to hang another one.
Maybe this time John Horst will actually deserve the Executive of the Year he wins instead of 2019 for winning it, for swapping, I think, 4 picks for Nikola Mirotic. Okay, tier 2 I have here in the A+ tier, which I've called just Heat Culture. It is just the Miami Heat. I have them above the rest of the teams in the conference. And I know that, Cash, you are obviously, just huge on Heat Culture. I know what Pat Riley means to you spiritually. Okay. So I'll just
He's an honorary Paisan.
Yeah, of course. Especially after getting, who was acting in the show?
Oh, Adrian Brody played him in the show.
Yeah. Is Adrian Brody Italian?
I don't think so.
He plays a lot of Italian characters.
I don't think he is.
Okay, he might be a cosplayer. Anyway, so we're gonna go past you just because you're already in on the Heat. Wolfond, you're more the voice of reason. Should Heat Culture be, above the rest of the Eastern Conference, especially after they didn't really do that much in the offseason?
No. I look. I can't help but have a healthy respect for what that team is when the calendar flips to April. Like something changes. I don't know how it happens or why, but it's pretty much undeniable at this point. They're a postseason juggernaut. So I get that, but man, I don't know. Like they lose 2. Obviously, they didn't have Hero for the playoff run last year, right? Yep. So maybe having a healthy Hero this time around makes up for losing Strus and Vincent. But like, man, it took a lot for them to make the finals last year in terms of like the 3-point shooting that kind of came out of nowhere after they were 27th in 3-point percentage during the regular season. 25th in offensive rating. Like they were the first. I think they were the first team that was even below like a 5 seed to make the finals in 24 years or something like
Probably
that.
Probably since the Knicks.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think even like when they made the finals in the bubble, they were the 5 seed, and that was like the first time I think a 5 seed had made the finals.
That's what I'm saying. They don't adhere to the rules of basketball. Okay.
So I get all that. I get all that.
Somehow.
But like, so you lose 2 starters from the team that went to the finals, and like required all of these things to kind of break their way for that to happen. And I'm not taking anything away from how they accomplished it. It was very impressive, but like Giannis gets hurt in the first round. They get, I think, a pretty favorable matchup against the Knicks in the second round, who just couldn't score on them at all. Get red hot from three again against the Celtics in the conference finals.
And they barely get by there.
Barely get by. And, the Celtics, I mean, look, they played a part in that
their own demise,
as well. I think the Heat played really well in that series. Yeah. I'm just saying, it took a lot for them to go on that kind of run as it was. And then they lose two guys who I think were pretty essential to that. And especially just on the shooting front, right? I know they went on that run in the playoffs, but they were 27 3-point percentage during the regular season. And they lose two guys who collectively gave them 12 3-point attempts a game last year and didn't really take steps to address that. And it's just, for me, I look at it and I know they've found ways to scheme around it year after year after year. But I look at what they're up against in the East and the lack of, outside of Jimmy and Bam, who are great two-way players, but also don't space the floor, it's just all one-way players. It's guys who provide shooting for them, or it's guys who provide defense, and no guys who provide both.
Yeah, and also, this might shock you, Will, and anyone who listens to our podcast regularly, but I'm actually out on the Heat this year, too. And it's not that I'm, out on Heat culture, because I do believe...
Unbelievable.
I do believe
of all
that
people.
If they get there, of course they're a threat. And I've been one of the people the last few years who's saying, to me, it's not all that confusing of why they do it. They have a guy in Jimmy Butler who is as proven as almost any player in terms of being a postseason superstar, two-way player.
Yep.
They have a really good foundational defense, and they've got probably the best coach, best tactician in the league. And if you take those things into the April to June gauntlet that is the playoffs, you have a chance. So I've never really, I get the part of how do they just turn on the shooting every year? That's going to be some luck. I get all that. But for the most part, I've never really been that confused or how are they doing this when they do it in the playoffs every year? So if they get there, I'm acknowledging, of course, they're still dangerous. But this is the year I'm out on them as even really being much of a threat because I just, even just to survive that 82-game slog, they were a play-in team last year, and I think they're worse this year.
Okay.
And so they are probably going to have to go that route again. I don't see them getting in through the top six, surviving the 82-game season like that. So if you ask me in April, once they're actually maybe in the tournament, I'd say, of course, I give them a chance. But if you ask me in October and they still got to get there 6 months from now, I'm not sold on them this year.
You know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing a couple people who don't believe in Haywood Highsmith. I'm hearing some people who don't Jamal Cain in preseason. This is what Miami does. I feel like they might be even
Nikola Jovic.
There's a little bit better of a defensive ceiling that they have with this group now. Offensively, obviously, Caleb Martin just needs to continue to be what he was, which was amazing. The reason I have Heat culture in their own tier is because I don't actually feel like the Bucks and Celtics should fear any other team in the conference. But the Heat are just that one, they're the ultimate banana peel for both these franchises. It's happened to both of them. They both slipped up on this team. So I feel like they should still be in a tier of their own because for me, in the B tier, I have second round ceiling, and I have the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, and the Philadelphia 76ers. One of these three teams is going to have to prove to me that they can actually get to more than just one round.
Yeah, and I would say out of those three, I mean, obviously the Sixers have the Harden drama hanging over them, and the Cavs, the backcourt, the defensive challenges and stuff, and Mobley's offensive challenges. But the one team out of that three that I think is kind of the pretender among them is the Knicks. Wolf and I actually wrote about this in pieces we've got going up at theScore this week about the tiers of contenders, and I had the write-up on the Knicks. And one of the things I said is the only reason I was even putting them in this contending tier write-up we're doing is simply out of respect for the team that eliminated Cleveland just 6 months ago. Because if we're putting Cleveland in here and New York literally just beat them in the playoffs and are returning basically the exact same team from that season, plus Dante DiVincenzo, I was like, I'll at least give them that respect of putting them here. But if you actually look at it, you really have to squint to even call this team a fringe contender. I maintain this team has no chance of winning at the highest level if they're employing both of Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. You just can't have $54 million a year committed to two somewhat inefficient, not really postseason proof players. And also, everyone talks about, well, the trump card they have, the wild card they have is all these assets, right? And maybe they can swing that trade that finally gets the Knicks over the hump. Yeah, they have a lot of extra first rounders. I think they have 3 or 4 extra ones in the next 3 years, but they're all pretty protected. They're top 9 protected, top 10 protected. Their best one is if Milwaukee's pick in 2025 ends up 5th to 30th, the Knicks get it. If it's top 4, the Pelicans get it. Now, it's going to end up 5th to 30th because Giannis and Dame are still under contract then, but it's going to end up closer to 30th.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Yeah, the Knicks have a lot of extra first-rounders, but how much are a bunch of first-rounders that are going to end up in the teens or end up converting to second-rounders really moving the needle? Like, if the type of player who's good enough to actually get this Knicks team over the hump becomes available in the trade market,
what they have.
Guess what? Yeah, he's not getting traded for the Knicks package because the Thunder can best it, the Jazz can best it, the Nets can best it, the Spurs can best it.
But are those teams going to be motivated to make that kind of a trade?
I think the Thunder would be.
Well, I mean, I think one thing with Tom Thibodeau teams is he gets them to play at such a high gear, high level of intensity, high minutes, obviously, for the main players. He's gotten better on that throughout the years, but he still is what he is. And he does such great detail and preparation that he has his team maxed out in the regular season. Unfortunately, I never feel like Tom's teams have like another gear in the playoffs, and I didn't really feel like that was true for the Knicks. Even round one was a lot of offensive rebounding, which is cool, which is great. The lights were brighter than expected, all that kind of stuff. But just the talent level, I just don't think it justifies beyond that. I guess the only one here is the Sixers. I mean, anyone see the Sixers making the conference final this year? Wolfond?
I mean, not. What are the Sixers right now? You know, like they're like, what are they? What is James Harden getting traded? Like, you know, what does the team look like come playoff time? That's I can't really say.
Even if they had James Harden right now, and if someone could promise you he would not be disgruntled, which obviously is not the case.
Yeah.
But let's live in a fantasy land.
Right.
Be properly gruntled.
Right. He still wouldn't lift this team above the Bucks. Like, they would still need to catch a break with one, either like the way the seedings matchup work or one of Boston, Milwaukee falling apart or an injury. Like, even if Harden was there and Philly played to the best of their abilities, they are still at best the third best team in the conference.
Can I make a case for one of these teams maybe having a path to the conference finals?
Cleveland?
Listen, if the Cavs can get the 1 seed, which I think is not at all a outlandish proposition.
They had the number 1 defense in the league last year. That
number 1
goes
defense,
a long way for
number 2 net rating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Point differential of a 55-win team. And
Okay.
this is a team, like, you look across the landscape of the Eastern Conference, this is the team that you can see making a big jump based on internal improvement alone. Like, no team in the conference has the same kind of collection of young talent. Talking like Darius Garland is 23 and one of the best shooters and pick-and-roll playmakers in the league already.
Okay.
Evan Mobley is 22 and in his second season was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. Like,
could not box out Mitchell Robinson to save his life, though.
Correct. And, like, they have limiting factors, just like I think pretty much every team in the conference does. Like, they're not on the level of the Bucks or Celtics, but I think in the regular season, if you're talking about continuity, like a team that, because of their youth, is maybe a little bit less likely to take an injury that's going to blow them off course, like, I think there's a decent chance, maybe they get to like 57 wins. Maybe that's enough for them to get the 1 seed, and then maybe the Bucks and Celtics are playing in the second round, and the Cavs find themselves in the conference finals.
Like, you know what the 1 seed gets you in the Eastern Conference?
A matchup with the Miami Heat. I need culture in the first round, baby. And come April, I'll be back in.
You're gonna come in here and
come
ruin
April,
that
I'll be
vibe.
back in. I'll slick the hair like Riley.